Welcome to Real Fixes Real Fast. I'm Dwayne Marriage and I'll be your host. This is not a technical class. Technical training is needed. You need a lot of it if you're going to fix cars these days. But this is a practical class. We're going to look at real fixes, tips, shortcuts, ideas, tools. This is where we close the book. Now, of course, closing the book first assumes that that book's already been opened. You've already been to some classes. You've already got some training. But sooner or later, you have to close that book and open the hood of the car that's right there in front of you and fix it. That's where we come in. Real fixes, real fast. All designed to help you fix real problems and make some real money doing it. So let's get started.
Race fans, it's time now for the most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome our Grand Marshal, Sony recording artist, Kelly Clarkson.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Oh no.
Well, those may be the most famous words, but that's the most frustrating sound. Anybody goes out and turns their key, the car won't start, it's frustrating. The first thing they'll do is get on the phone and call you, ask for help. So that's where we're going to start. An engine that won't start. It'll crank, but it won't start. Now, it does start if you add external fuel. There's several sources. It could be something like starting fluid, propane, or carb cleaner. So it cranks but won't start, but it does start if you add external fuel. Now, it'll also start and run if you add an external relay. An external relay. You know, it's also called a hammer. That's where you get down and beat on the bottom of the gas tank and suddenly the car starts and runs. Why does this work? Any ideas? Well, I call it the woofer principle, or probably more accurately the subwoofer principle. Here's how it is. You're driving down the street and you start hearing some music. You look in your rearview mirror and the car's coming up beside you, and you begin to hear that music get louder and louder, and suddenly your car starts shaking and things are starting to fall off of your sun visor and your steering wheel is shaking. That car pulls right up next to you. Now, it is not touching you. However, that sound wave is traveling from their car to your car, and you are feeling it. The same thing happens when you beat on the bottom of a gas tank. The percussion of that travels through the fuel, jars that fuel pump, and wakes it up. Now, here's my point. Don't make things harder than they are, and don't give it away. Here's what I mean. Here's what you put on the ticket. You tested the ignition system. You verified the compression, verified spark control, verified injector control, verified timing control. You verified the circuit integrity. You found a fuel delivery failure. The contacts were worn and not completing the circuit. Now tell me that's not worth at least an hour of diagnostic time, plus the repair time. And why are you going to charge for all that? Because that's exactly what you must do to find the reason for the no-start. All of those things come into play. The external relay is simply a shortcut that you can take advantage of in this situation to find the repair. So let me make a comparison here. If you're injured, sick, or hurt, you go to the emergency room, and when you do, you expect that doctor to be standing ready, capable, trained in all areas. You may only have a small cut in your finger, you may simply need an antibiotic, or you may be having a heart attack. But either way, you expect that doctor to be able to know everything that's necessary to take care of whatever problem you bring in. When people bring a car to your garage, they expect the same thing. They expect that mechanic to be well trained, standing ready to take care of whatever problem that car needs. Now in our situation with the no crank, yeah, you just beat on the bottom of the gas tank, but you tested that ignition system. The whole ignition system was tested when you did that. You verified that there was compression, a necessary component. There was spark control, there was injector control. All that is working, and it's working right, and it's all at the right time. And you verified the integrity of the circuit. The only thing that was missing was the fuel pump wasn't running. So what happens if you beat on the bottom of the gas tank and it doesn't start? Well, any one of these things are what you have to be able to test. Just as likely, though, you're probably going to see this. The car was towed in and it starts right up. Now maybe the customer came with it and they're swearing up and down that it didn't start out there. It didn't start for them. Why is it starting now?
Yeah, well, guess what? Now this is happening.
So what are you going to do? Well, Here's one that you can try, especially on a GM. Use a jumper wire. You can make up one yourself just like this. Tap into the fuse. Now you may have to use your wiring diagram, service manual. Find the fuse that feeds the fuel pump. Tap into it with a current probe. Now set up for current ramping. Now remember before where I said you have to close the book, assuming that you've already been to class and already had some training. You have to understand, you already have to be able to be trained to do current ramping to understand this or do it. So if you haven't, take that as your next class. Take a class on understanding lab scopes. Now in this case, you're going to look for a circuit dropout. Here's the lab scope and we're set from 0 to 50. Now the fuel pump is actually running okay, and all of a sudden it drops down to 0. 0 what? 0 current. We're current ramping. You have no current flowing in this portion. If there's no current, that motor is not running. However, the centrifugal force of that motor as it goes, sooner or later it catches back up and runs again until it gets next to the bad spot again, drops down to 0 current. Pops up, runs again until it gets back to the 0 current. Now, if that vehicle happens to stop, you turn it off and the engine stops and that position is there, then the next time you crank it, it's not going to start. Let's look at one in real time. This is an actual current ramp of a fuel pump. Didn't look too good, did it? Now it should look like this.
Indeed.
If you're normally going to look at it, you're going to look at from 0 to 10. Most books will tell you that you should have about 7 or 8 humps going across here. They should look normal, they should look even, they should all look the same. That's a good fuel pump. It should not look like this. This again is it from your 0 to 50. We stretched it out so that you could see it better, because if we were only looking from 0 to 10, this is all you would see. But by expanding that out, you can see actually 3 dropouts. So the pump was actually running good here, but it dropped down to 0. Now, here's another one.
Well, you don't see that.
You see this. You don't have the good humps, and you're back down to dropping out. Now, a quick access point on a Ford. The fuel cutoff switch or the inertia switch. It's usually not too hard to get to on a Ford pickup truck. It's right over here on the side. Use the same thing. Use your current probe, attach it around the wire, hook it up to your lab scope, and take a look at that current ramp.